You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Thanks for checking out this podcast on Lone Star Community Radio. If you like this show or other shows on Lone Star Community Radio, make sure to subscribe to them on YouTube and iTunes and also Google Play. If you have any questions about sponsorships or being a guest on these kind of shows, make sure you email me. I'm the station manager. Hi, my name is Dick, and you can email me at dick@irlonestar.com, or you can call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Just want to let you know we're here to support Montgomery County, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on lonestar.com. Ooh, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous Wednesday. Man, it's so nice to finally have some good weather. And it's my Friday. I know everybody else out there. You guys may not know, Wednesdays are my Fridays now. So I work I have another full-time job, and I do this on the side as a fun hobby thing. And so my work week is not your typical Monday through Friday situation. I actually work. My Monday is actually y'all's Friday, which is quite crazy, quite nuts. So today is my Friday, and every Wednesday is my Friday, and I am super pumped about that when I come into this show, because this is the best way to kind of kick off my weekend, and I love it. I love it. So, welcome in. I am your host, Jake LaFleur, the host of the one and only Jake from Sports Talk, here on Lone Star Community Radio. If you want to check out who I am, what I'm about, everything like that, go to, best way to kind of connect to everything with me is irlonestar.com. Go to the show page link, Jake from Sports Talk. Go down, follow the tabs down, find Jake from Sports Talk. On that page, everywhere, everything you need to know about me, my Facebook, Google Play, iTunes accounts, YouTube account, all that good stuff. My Gmail's on there. Any way to get in touch with me, any way to reach me, right there on that page. But yes, if you want to just do a Google search, Jake from Sports Talk, that'll take you to my YouTube, that'll take you to my Google Play, that'll take you to Facebook, iTunes, all that stuff. The iTunes and Google Play, that's my podcasted version. YouTube, that's my video version. Facebook and Gmail are your ways to get in touch with me. The Gmail is at Jake from Sports Talk, at gmail.com, Facebook, everything else, just search Jake from Sports Talk. And yeah, so go follow, subscribe, like me on all those pages and everything like that, and you can never miss a wonderful show of Jake from Sports Talk. So there we go. Intro done. Awesome. Great to be back in. We are live here every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you ever get a chance to come down here, if you're in the Conroe area or if you're outside the Conroe area, come visit Conroe. First of all, Conroe is awesome. You got the woodlands right there attached to it. You've got Lake Conroe right there attached to it. You've got Sam Houston National Forest for bird watching and hunting and all sorts of other things attached to it. And then you've got downtown Conroe, right where the station is actually located. And we are located right on Main Street. So if you ever get a chance to come by, we have two big windows. You can look into the station. You can see my goofy face recording this stuff. It is an awesome place, especially on a day so beautiful like this. And there's so much to do in downtown Conroe. You can literally spend days down here, and it's like 5 square blocks. And, it's hard to believe, but I promise you can. So, all right, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to dive real quick into, and I know a lot of people have been kind of pushing me for football because we just had the NFL Combine. And, just to kind of touch on that real quick, we're going to talk a lot of football next week. I don't like doing mock drafts or anything like that, but I am going to talk situational sort of stuff next week. We're going to dive into quarterbacks. We're going to dive into kind of what I think the Browns, the Colts, the Giants, everybody in the top 5. Unfortunately, the Texans should be there, but they don't get it, so that kind of stinks. But yeah, hang in there, and we're going to talk a lot of football next week. We're going to talk a little basketball to start out today, and we're going to transition to a little more basketball. But the first segment, we're going to be college basketball. Second segment is going to be NBA. And then I want to touch on some golf. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, how boring is that? I got a really interesting concept for you to think about here, and it's actually our question of the week. And I want you guys to answer or respond to me and tell me what you think, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, you think I'm an idiot, you think I'm a genius, whatever the case may be. I want you guys to reach out to me on that subject. But starting out, what the NCAA side of things and everything that's going on there. The FBI investigation, everything with Sean Miller out at Arizona University. I don't really like diving into that entirely yet. We have so much speculation on he said, she said sort of situation right now. And there's just not enough facts out there yet. ESPN is reporting a ton of stuff. You have also a ton of other news outlets that are credible news outlets that are saying that what ESPN is reporting is wrong. So I don't really want to dive a whole lot into the specifics on that specific case. I want to talk more about the grand scheme of things and the paying of players. Now, we have a system in place right now where athletes obviously get paid in tuition, and they get paid in an education. And, once upon a time, I think that might have been okay. But when the academic side of it became less of a focus for not just the players. I mean, some of the players are there to get an education first and foremost. Some of the players go and they're going to stay 4 years no matter what because they want that piece of paper. And that's fine. But there's also a lot of people that go and it isn't about an education. It's not about getting that degree at the end of the day. It's about, it being the next step to the professional level, whatever the sport may be. So you then take that into consideration along with the coaching aspect and the coaching side of it and how much it is a business. I mean, you're paying just like they would pay a student to get an academic scholarship. You're paying them with that scholarship, a full ride academic scholarship, but you're putting expectations on them, and your expectations are for them to maintain a certain GPA to retain that academic scholarship for the following year. And you employ the best professors to give them the best education because it ultimately reflects the overall quality of your learning institute, depending on how well those academic students do. And that's the reason why you want them to come to your school. So that's the reason why you give them the academic scholarship. Well, roles reverse. You do it the same thing for the athlete, but instead of paying them in athletic, how do I put this? You're rewarding the academic students with an academic scholarship. You need to reward these students with a sports-related bonus or benefit that they can utilize to ultimately help further their career. A lot of these athletes, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be required to go to school or anything like that. Education is still first and foremost not their responsibility. I shouldn't say first and foremost. It is a responsibility there. That is also something that they have to do on the side of what their job actually is. And what their job is to go and play a sport there. And you do this with every sport, no matter what sport it is. When you're giving them an athletic scholarship, you're paying them to come play for your sport, for your school, so that way your school benefits the most out of them representing your school, and people identify with your school, and ultimately brings in ticket sales and all these sorts of things, all these benefits that you're getting, TV contracts, ticket sales, merchandise sales, everything like that, everything that you're making, all those dollars that you're making off of those kids' backs. You're doing the same thing with those academic scholarship receivers as well. It's just not as direct A to B. You're not selling jerseys with player X on the back of it and then receiving the money from that like you're doing with the academic scholarship people. The comparison there is there's just not enough of a direct correlation between the profit you make off of an academic scholarship student as there is off of an athletic scholarship student. And so the profit is more direct, and it's more directly correlated, and it's also something that you see immediately and you receive immediately. Those television contracts and things like that, you receive those things immediately. And so my issue are the people who try to compare those two, it's completely different. What we need to reward these athletic students that are putting their bodies on the line, just like those academic students are putting their brains on the line, which it's just a different form of putting their brain on the line compared to some of these athletes that play football, lacrosse, baseball, rugby, things like that, swimmers, divers, all those things, all these physical tolls that these athletes are putting on their body. They need to be compensated accordingly because that's their career path. That's what they're going to college for. Just like you go to a vocational school to get a vocational degree, you're going to culinary school, you're going to graphic design school, you're going to, name it, mechanic school, to be a car mechanic or an airplane mechanic, whatever the case may be, you're going specifically for that. Those academic scholarship receivers, they're going for academics because they want to do something within the, they want to do something more with their brain. And not to say that athletes are stupid or anything like that, but they want to do more with their they want to achieve higher with a higher diploma than what an athlete's going to get. So they're going to become doctors and lawyers and CEOs and various things like that. But an athlete is going to school to that I hate calling it a school, and I'll get into that in a second, but they're going to that institution because they want to play football at the next level. Not all of them. Some of them are going and they're benefiting off of the ability to play football to get that education, and that's fine. If that's their choice, that's their choice. But the majority are going to play at the next level in that sport, at the professional level. And so why are we trying to fool ourselves that these kids are there to be students first and then athletes? Because they're there to be athletes. And a school administrator may not tell you that straight up, but they're there to be athletes because what good do they serve that school? Well, they serve that school by playing a sport, and by playing that sport, what does the school receive? They receive billions and billions of dollars. So I guess what's your reward here? You're saying that if this academic scholarship receiver comes to my school, I'm going to guarantee him the best education, I'm going to guarantee him a diploma at the end, and I'm going to guarantee that he has the best opportunity to succeed at the next level. You're doing the same thing with the athlete, but you're also requiring them to go to school. You're not guaranteeing them the best job application that they can, or resume that they can put out to a job application after they graduate college. No, you're saying, look, you come and play here, you're going to get the best, you're going to have your best chance to play at the next level, at the NFL, MLB, whatever the case may be. So I bring all this up in the sense that, and we're running up to the break here, but I bring all this up because the NBA is finally starting to do something intelligent, and they're finally starting to bypass the NCAA, which these two organizations are not linked at all, but they're trying to bypass these two bypass the NCAA as an organization and expand the G League. And I think that's a great idea because what it does is it takes the NCAA and all of its corrupt natures completely out, and it ultimately leads us to a better chance of resetting the NCAA and eliminating it altogether and coming up with a new governing body that is correct. and accurate. So you're listening to Jake from Sports Talk. When we come back, we're going to talk some NBA and the mental factors and the generational mental factors. Stay tuned. You'll find out what I'm talking about. You're listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world. Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas. A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Welcome back to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community. I hit my power button there. Here on Lone Star Community Radio. Thank you again for joining in on another wonderful Wednesday. It's nice to actually have some beautiful weather outside. For all those not from the Houston area, and I know if you're back east right now, you're getting some pretty bad weather too. Much worse than what we've had down here, but it's just been so miserable the entire, month of February. So hopefully this is the start of March. Obviously we're a week into it now, so hopefully we keep the good weather going. So I said before the break that we were going to talk about some more NBA stuff and having something to do with Kevin Love. And it's Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan, to be completely honest, but it's more about not their play per se, because that's two different positions. One's a shooting guard, one's a center, but it's more about their mental aspect. And if you've been focusing in on the sports world the last week and a half, essentially, about a week and a half ago, DeMar DeRozan is guard for the Toronto Raptors. He came out and he said that he struggles with heavy bouts of depression, not just throughout the season, but, in life as a whole. And he's been quoted saying that he's, here's the exact quotes. Man, the last week has probably been one of the most incredible things that me personally, I've witnessed, period. The Toronto Raptors star said Tuesday night. And this is all courtesy of thestar.com. So yes, he did receive a lot of support on social media and stuff, from not just from fans, but also from the team in general, and the response that he got from supportive response that he got from his fellow teammates in the locker room, from the front office, the GM, the coach, everything. But then again, also from the public, and a lot of that response, I guess, made Kevin Love feel really comfortable to come out yesterday and he released a piece on the Tribune, Players Tribune, which just informing Dick, for all those who don't know, that's it's a online journalism website that is dedicated to the players by the players. Now, a lot of the times the players can go on there and write their own stuff if they want, but a lot of the times they have actual writers that they talk to, and those writers write, just exactly without any of their personal opinion or agendas put into it. It's strictly just whatever the players say, that's what goes into it, and the writers just write it logically. And it was actually founded by Derek Jeter in post-playing career, so I think that's really cool. But on this website, the Players Tribune, Kevin Love came out and he had a guy write I'm assuming he had a guy write a piece for him, and he talked about how his mental health has been on the fritz for quite some time now. And he was saying that earlier in this year, it was right at the start of the season, they had, the bad start and bad stretch. He was entering, or he went into the game, the start of the game, starting roster, obviously, went through and had 1 point through 15 minutes in the first half of the game. And he just felt as though he was off. He was winded within the first, minute or two of the game, and he didn't know what was going on. And he went into a timeout, and at the end of the timeout, they had, called a play, and it was basically designed around Kevin Love getting an open shot on the 3-point line. And Kevin said he doesn't even entirely remember that full timeout conversation, and it was only later after going back and revisiting that specific moment that, other players told him, that's, what happened. And he said he physically could not re-enter the game. He couldn't. It wasn't that he emotionally couldn't or mentally couldn't. It was that his body physically would not let him go back into the game. Following that, he sprinted into the locker room trying to figure out what was going on. He was having a panic attack, but he never had one before, so he wasn't entirely sure what was going on. He said that he ran from room to room, breathing extremely heavy and trying to acting as though he was looking for something, but really he was just trying to calm himself down. And then he hit a point where he laid down flat on the floor on his back, and that was at the time when player personnel came in to find out what was going on. They rushed him to the hospital. They did a bunch of tests. They said everything was okay, but they did identify it as a panic attack. Since then, the team has helped him out by sending him to counseling and helping him, kind of learn what's going on with him, because obviously he didn't know. He may have had some problems or something, but he didn't really know the extent of it. And I asked Dick to hang around today, and for all of you who don't know, Dick is our station manager here at Lone Star Community Radio. He's also the host of an awesome morning show. If you want to go check it out, it's Mornings with Lone Star with Dick and Skippy. And obviously he's also the head of the Stubby Army and Stubby Nation with the Ticket Stub every Thursday with Connor and Chris. Connor and Chris. There we go. So Connor, I always forget Chris's name. I know Chris, if you're listening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiot. No.
But I asked him to hang around because the age here with DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, Kevin Love's 29 and DeMar DeRozan is, I believe, 30, if I'm not mistaken. Or 20. He's 29 as well. So Dick, you're how old?
I'm 31.
You're 31. So you're right around that range, that 85 to 90s baby. And I've got brothers that are that age, and I know how they are, mentally and emotionally. And I know how you are mentally and emotionally. And I want to know if it's something that is this, way of dealing with this situation, a generational thing? Is it something that we're seeing from them? Is it something that we're seeing from NBA players? I mean, you're a big soccer fan. Is it something that's common in soccer? Because I don't think it's something we see in the NFL at all, nor the NHL.
Well, I think it's also the biggest picture of it. The way I saw it is it's always going to be there. It's always has been there. The depression or the individual seeing something that is affecting them in their health. like I know for me, example, when I played baseball a lot at a younger age, and I would get so much anxiety about the game, and not like a nervous anxiety, but just excited, like I just couldn't do it, and my body would overdo itself. And I'll never forget one of the coaches. I don't know if this is right or what was wrong, but he said, "Hey, try a Zantac 75, a heartburn medicine." And
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it works. And I don't know if it was more a placebo thing or whatever, but like it calmed me down. My heart rate stopped. Like it just everything kind of adjusted itself. But your question is if it's a generational thing. I think it's part of our society is opening up to people being allowed to say things, like to express themselves in a sense of, oh, I'm depressed or I'm in a position where I'm weak.
So one thing I heard, one thing I heard on this was that our generation, your generation, and then mine, because I'm not significantly younger than you, but I am quite a bit younger than you. I fall in a different generation category. Mm-hmm. The amount of suicide that we have been exposed to at in our generation at our young age has made us more, I guess, open and understanding rather than fearful and judgmental of the fact that people would come out and say this sort of thing. Because you mentioned off air something about Jordan and how Jordan probably went through these same things, but his heart of a champion powered him through it, and that's why he was so great.
Well, on a sports level, especially at a professional sports level, the competition mentality has always been part of the winner's mentality. And I said Jordan because I think everybody at one point in their life goes through a form of depression. Either it's self-doubt or if it's like a loss in the family, or you don't know what depression is until afterwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And when I use Jordan as an example, I think his personality, he had the personality to overcome anything because he wanted to be the best. And that applies to everything, every aspect of his life, not just on the basketball court.
No. We saw it with his baseball career too.
Yes. Well, he tried.
He tried.
And it's a good example today. It would be Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is one of those people I can just see having that locker room attitude where he's not a leader, but a good example of he's a shoulder to lean on. You don't really see him weak in a sense of like, you bringing people, he's not bringing anyone else down. He's not lashing out or anything like that. Yeah. And I think the Kevin Love situation, the thing that's horrible about it, and as part of the depression is I don't know if I want to be on a team with somebody like that.
So that's a whole nother aspect of it. And that was a lot of what Kevin Love said in this piece was, up until this moment, I have not felt comfortable in coming out with this knowledge and this, the fact that I had a panic attack and a lot of it is part of because, or at least I imagine is because of the reaction of his teammates. And so, we're still kind of fresh in on this story. So how this is actually going to play out is a little it's unknown, and they didn't have a game last night, and so. But I guess can you elaborate on that? Why would that bother you as a fellow teammate?
Well, there's two sides to that too, especially the responsibility as a franchise or a team to that individual, but also the team's responsibility to that individual. Because at the end of the day, for these professional athletes, it's about results. So what's going to happen if this guy becomes depressed and he starts stinking? And then basically they trade him off or they get rid of him. He goes back to the minors and it gets worse and worse and worse. And then the best example I can give you is the NFL dealing with their retired players and some of them actually having psychological issues. Either it's through the physical abuse they're put their body through, or it's depression.
Yeah.
And whose responsibility is that, and how do you approach it? Because I know there's some players, especially in soccer, where you're out for a year or two, and that changes your entire direction of your career in the world of soccer. Because you might not be a starter when you get back, you might not be the same, and things like that. And then also that leads to people committing suicide, or there are a couple suicides in a year in soccer. They're not well known because there's so many levels of it.
Yeah,
but it's really weird too, because you as a viewer, we're spectators. We want to see an exciting game, and we always like to see people overcome stuff. But in the end, I'd rather watch a Michael Jordan be a butthead about how good he is, but because it's kind of like the the human nature of the court. And like if you're on the court competing, you want to be able to talk smack and back it up. And like those are the people who I always like to have on my team because they're always going to improve themselves because they fight themselves.
Well, and I think to back or not to back, I don't know. To put it out there is the level of player and the level of caliber of player that these two are, DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love. I mean, these aren't your B squad.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'd be worried about is
these are your A guys.
Their performances and tomorrow. I mean, now you're kind of getting these guys who are clearly sympathetic to them. Like your teammate, you don't want to be a butt and be like, no, man, like you got to not think that way because don't be a wimp.
But what about the little guy in the locker room? Like with little man syndrome. I mean, these guys they don't have these sort of feelings that, or at least for the most part, they don't have these bouts of depression like that.
Was there any reports of Muggsy Bogues having problems?
No, not that I can.
So, I mean, he was literally the smallest guy there, and he just like Michael Jordan in my mind, because I used to watch him. That's who my inspiration, because I was a small basketball player. Him and John Stockton, those are the people I loved watching because they were good and they could be useful in the team. They weren't necessarily the give the ball to this player. But I mean, I think it's going to be a horrible situation to do that in the locker room.
So you were talking about the team aspect of it. Do you think it's on the team, the team's responsibility to get this person some mental help? Like, you know how many trainers they have in the locker room to treat physical injuries.
Well, yeah, I think any type of high stress workplace, and that is a workplace. Let's think about it like that. Yeah. Like police officers have therapists, firefighters have access to therapists. Certain jobs, if I'm a day trader or something, I imagine they go see their therapist. But yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. I don't see it as a norm as a franchise having that available to them. But what's strange though too is they come out on the Players Tribune and do something like that and say you're a teammate, you had no idea. Like to me, that starts, if you're really that close to the group, it shakes some of it. Because like, why would you go publicly with that and not really share it with us?
Well, and I don't know. We don't know if he shared it with his locker room prior to this, because you have to imagine that when he left at halftime to go to the hospital because he was having a panic attack, I'm sure it got out that to his teammates that he had a panic attack or something happened.
Well, now this is all going to be blamed on him if he does poorly.
Well, but that's where the grand scheme of things come into it, because there's already been points in time this season and prior seasons with the Cavaliers where everybody's pointed the finger at him and saying, you're the reason why we're doing bad right now. You're the reason why we're not going to win this championship.
Well, I mean, that even renegotiations of their contracts, that's going to come up, and even not on paper, but it's still going to be, hey, this guy's kind of unstable, 1/4 of the time.
But I guess my problem with it is I don't think we should criticize someone for having that. I understand as you personally, you may want to rather watch Jordan at the highest level, and I want to watch the highest level as well. That's why I'm watching pros and not college there in that moment in time. But I also am not going to criticize someone if they have to take a step back and go get mental help. Just like I'm not going to blame a guy who's sitting on the bench with a broken ankle. I'm not going to be like, oh, what a wimp. Walk it off.
I think it comes down to the character of the individual too, because the one thing I always loved about sports is at any age is it's a team. Like I love team sports because like I know when I was growing up, I loved being part of the team. Yeah. I love being, I was never the individual who wanted to be the figure skater in a sense of I'm like the Lone Ranger here. I'm the only one going to be good enough. If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And the thing that's going to be challenging to players like Love and other individuals like that is how can you still be part of the team if someone's looking at you're the reason we're losing.
You're the weak link.
You're the weak link, and everyone knows how hard that is on a team if you have a weak link, and you got to do something about it as a team because you're trying to win, right? That's why we're not trying to let everyone be friends. We're trying to win first, I imagine, at that level, at the professional level.
Yeah, and I hate to do this because it really isn't fair to do in a normal situation, but I don't think this is a normal situation. But I wonder how much of this falls on LeBron James. Not just his fame and stardom.
Well, he's the captain, right?
Well, yeah, obviously. But if you know his nature and his character and how he drags teams along like little puppies on a leash, and he constantly does these 1-year deals and constantly expects X out of his, co-players, especially if you were signing on where when Love came to Cleveland, LeBron wanted Love there, and he expected Love to be his number 2. And I mean, that's a lot of expectation to be put on an individual, and whether or not you can live up to that is that speaks to your character.
Well,
but is that fair?
Well, there's going to be contract changes with this too. I mean, I can already kind of see if somebody's going to have the unstable side of their work, basically.
Yeah.
Like either Love has the character to say, "Hey, I'm going to step away for 6 months. I'm still going to train, but I'm just not mentally ready to be in the light." Or he's going to continue, and then basically it's always going to come up. Everyone on ESPN, everyone on Jake from Sports Talk is going to be like, "Oh, he's failing because he's weak mind. He's depressed. Oh, he's got this issue." I mean, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer, but it's up down to the individual's experience and also what the team wants to do. Because, there's some teams, I bet like probably the good example would be the San Antonio Spurs from, was it 6 years ago? When their team was just when that was a team.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if there's a story that comes out from one of those guys going, "I was depressed, but as a team we kept improving," or whatever.
Well, or even from Michael, what if he said, "Yeah, I've fought depression and I tried to combat it with all the drinking and the gambling, problems that I went through, and but I still came up and I still showed up and played." Well,
and then Kevin Love's perspective, is he gonna keep playing, or is he gonna kind of say he has this issue, and then basically every talking point is always gonna be, "Oh, he stunk today because he has an issue," or "He did really well today because he's overcoming that issue."
But again, do we treat it like a sprained ankle where, "Oh man, my ankle was just not feeling it today"?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd be interested in the clause, like in your contracts, here's your contracts and things, like, or they be allowed to take a mental health holiday. I mean, some people do it and they might cover it up with something else. "Oh, like I'm just like my calves are broken," or
my calves are broken. That's what Cleveland says every day now.
But if you know what I mean, it's what's acceptable, what isn't, especially when someone's paying money. I guarantee you some lawyers can be like, "No, we're not paying him."
Nope.
Not paying him. If he's going to take a mental health holiday, well, that makes us look bad, man. Who cares? I don't want to pay him.
I'm not paying him for a mental. I know, and I get that whole aspect of it. And so I don't know. It's really interesting to see all this play out. We've got basically 24 hours of the Love side of it. We've got a week and a half of the DeRozan side. And DeRozan hasn't had any issues in his play. So, Love has had some issues this year. And he's also, he's injured right now too. So he's actually physically injured.
Well, that might be part of the problem.
It might be. He's not on the court.
Yeah.
So, all right. Stay tuned. You are listening to Jake from Sports Talk, and we will be right back right after these messages. Don't forget, guys, if you want to catch more of Dick and everything, go check out irlonestar.com, the ticket stub, Mornings with Lone Star, and everything like that. All right. We'll be right back, guys.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? The Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your question. Get seen on TV or YouTube and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Sponsor your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available in Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Don't miss Lone Star Community Radio on TV and YouTube. Our talk show and music shows are featured on Our City TV, Suddenlink Channel 12, and have their own YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with posted shows and comment on them below the video.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Welcome back to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Woo! All right, that was a long last segment, and since that was a long last segment, we're going to have to cut this last one. Or not cut it. We're going to combine it, the last two segments, into one segment, making it only 10 minutes because we are running, or 15 minutes, because we are running low on time. So, real quick, just to rehash that was Dick Schisler, our station manager. Awesome guy. So thankful for everything he's done for me here on this radio station. But yeah, go check out all of his shows with the Ticket Stub and Mornings with Lone Star. The Mornings with Lone Star is Monday through Friday, and Skippy is a hoot and a holler, and Dick is Dick is Dick. He's a little more lively, I guess, at that time. He's had enough coffee, and he's more of a morning person. I'm going to put it that way. He's more of a morning person, I would say. But also, he does a Ticket Stub, and he gets really animated about movies, so that's a lot of fun there. But go check out irlonestar.com. There's tons of shows. Coming up next is Justice is Blonde. Talk about a smart woman. I've engineered her show a few times now, and man, do I feel like just an idiot compared to her. So really smart, really interesting legal show, and it's not just about like what to do, when you get in a car accident, call Justice is Blonde. No, it's more in depth about that, and just a really intelligent woman. If you ever want to get just a unique and interesting perspective on a variety of legal topics and different things from, like one of the cool shows, and the topic is not cool, but the idea behind it is cool, and it was about sex trafficking and how to help the women that are subject to it, and those who are here illegally. Really cool show. You can go check her out on irlonestar.com, and then obviously you can see Jake from Sports Talk there. You can get all the links you need for this show, the YouTube page, the Google, iTunes, and all that jazz. And you can go, follow, like, subscribe on all those platforms, and that way you never miss a wonderful episode of Jake from Sports Talk. So, with that said, let's get into our last topic of the day, which we're going to kind of stick with the mental game here. Talking about Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan's mental health issues that they are currently facing right now, and a sport that is extremely mental. And I would probably say that a lot of the time, if you struggle with mental health, you're going to struggle in this game, and that game is golf. And a key aspect of, or not aspect, but a key example of that would be Tiger Woods. Now, we all, I think for the most part, know Tiger Woods, rise to glory and fame within the sport, where I would say the majority of people that watched golf at that time, through that rise in the late 90s and through the 2000s, they watched, and this is rare because I feel like a lot of the time you've got a pretty solid 40, 60, 50, 50, 60, 40 split when an athlete is someone of the Tiger Woods or the LeBron James or the Kobe's, or when they're at the upper echelon of their sport. Tom Brady, another good example. You have a majority of people that are watching that are either rooting for him to win, and then the other majority is rooting for him to lose. And it's usually pretty evenly split, with it being 60, 40, or 40, 60, or, 50, 50, whatever the case may be. But, Tiger is rare in that instance where, I'm trying to think of a lot of players that I could, me personally, I can't think of a lot of athletes that we would watch and say, generally, we want that person to succeed. And, you can't, I'm excluding Olympic athletes there, because as a country, I think we want our U.S. athletes to succeed in what they're doing. But then you got to consider the rest of the world. They rather their player win. They may not personally hate the other player, or may not want that other person, to lose per se, but unless it's like Americans and Canadians, then, I know the Canadians or the Americans are like, I want that Canadian to lose. I don't care if the Americans don't win. I just want the Canadian to lose. But with Tiger, it's not like that. With Tiger's successful era was, you wanted to see Tiger be Tiger and just ultimately succeed and dominate this sport. You were never tuning in to see him lose. You were seeing if he could do it again, week in and week out, how successful he was. And so you had this era, and then obviously you've got the downfall era, the 8-iron through the window, the, numerous women he cheated on his wife with, and it spiraled, and everybody flipped on him. And then it was, man, I just want to see him lose. I want no success for him. And then he had the mental aspect come into it, and the mental twist of all of it, and his career, and then obviously the injuries and the surgery after surgery. And then we had even the latest scandal, and I feel like a lot of people have forgotten about this. He was recently caught, driving under the influence, and he had a lot of drugs in his system, various drugs in his system as well. And it wasn't just like pot. It was, and actually, I don't even think marijuana was in his system at all. It was a variety of opioids, essentially, and, various painkillers. So, but we look at what we are seeing now this tour season. So Tiger himself has played in 3 PGA Tour official tour events, FedEx events, and he played at the Hero World Challenge, which I guess that's actually not a FedEx Point event, but it is recognized as a PGA Tour event. He shot 8 under in 4 days. Then you saw the Farmers Insurance Open. In 4 rounds, he shot 3 under, and then in the Honda Classic, he was even through 4 rounds. And the fact that we're seeing him back at this stage, to where he not only played back-to-back weekends, he made back-to-back cuts, and he, in his last tournament that he played in, which wasn't obviously this past weekend, but the weekend before, he finished 12th overall. Now, he's coming up in the Valspar Classic this upcoming weekend, starting tomorrow. But the big thing I don't think is necessary. Where we're seeing his play at is great, and it's phenomenal. And it's something that we haven't seen out of Tiger in 6 years, 5 years. And so to see him back at this level is awesome, and it's great for him. But I think the more important thing is the following that it's bringing. And it's not bringing, this super, overly energetic support for Tiger per se. I think some people are still kind of torn on this whole aspect of it. And I think it's more of just how many people are tuning in to Tiger and not to golf. And when we saw Tiger back in his heyday and in his prime, the attendance and the numbers from all different walks of life were watching golf to watch Tiger. They weren't watching golf to watch golf. They were watching golf to watch Tiger and watch how dominant he was. The tournament that he finished 12th in was the Honda Classic. Attendance was up almost 25% from last year on an entire 4 day, rounds, 4 rounds, 4 days, attendance was up almost 25% from last year, and it's the highest numbers since 2010. And then the second highest numbers since 2007. So we're talking back when Tiger was good, back when Tiger was relevant. We're talking about numbers that we haven't seen since those days. And so I want to bring up, is that a good thing for golf or is that a bad thing for golf? Because I'm looking at it as a bad thing for golf. I don't want to take anything away from Phil Mickelson. I love lefty. I truly think he is just a genuine guy. I know he's got some tax issues and whatnot, but it's a story for another day. I think he's truly a genuinely a good guy, and I like him a lot. But there's, an honesty thing that you just got to look in the mirror at some point and you got to say, would Phil Mickelson be as popular as he is if it weren't for Tiger Woods? You got to look at what Tiger drew into the golf world and how many people learned how many more people learned about Phil, because your golf fans are going to know Phil because they're golf fans. But how many casual viewers of golf were able to now identify Phil for Phil and know him as lefty, truly as lefty? And you got to look at it. I mean, I'm a huge golf fan, so it's hard to kind of imagine, oh man, yeah, everybody would know Phil still. I mean, it's Phil. But like Jim Furyk, I bet you the casual, fan knows Phil or knows Furyk, but outside of that, probably not. But outside of regular, outside of the casual fan, still a lot of people know who Phil Mickelson is. And I think that has to do directly, due to Tiger Woods and his prime, playing days. And so we're looking at what golf is now, and then I'm looking at it from the future standpoint. Tiger being this dominant and this good with ratings, not even play, just purely ratings, people wanting to see the comeback. America loves the comeback story. They love the underdog. They also love to tear down the top dogs. And when Tiger had that episode, had all that about his life come down, America did not hold back in ripping Tiger down to below dung. They ultimately just shredded him to pieces. But once they got him into a million little pieces, now they want to see Tiger put himself back together, become that golfer again that he once was, own up he's already owned his mistakes. I mean, he's come out multiple times and apologized. He's owned his mistakes. Now they want to see him rise back to glory because they love that story. And that story's great, but Tiger's old. I mean, in sports years, Tiger is old. That man needs to shave his head and just go bald, because what he's got on top, man, you ain't 25 anymore, Tiger. Just shave that up top. But where does that leave the future of the sport? Because he doesn't have very long left to play. Phil Mickelson doesn't have very long left to play. And so we look at what they have in the young talent. I mean, you're talking, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, Paul Casey. I mean, he's not an American, but outside of Americans, Jordan Spieth is an American. Vegas. I'm trying to think of everybody off the top of my head, and it's not coming out. Fitzpatrick, Grace, Oosthuizen, Reed, Patrick Reed, Webb Simpson, Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler. I mean, you're looking at all these, Rory McIlroy. I mean, you're looking at all these golfers that are young and that have, talent and skill. But the problem is they've been there for a couple of years and they didn't move the needle. They didn't draw in golfers like Tiger did when he was their age, like Tiger did at the start of his career and through his prime years. And a lot of these guys are hitting their prime, the early stages of their prime years. So where do we go? Where do we go now from here as the future of golf? Because I don't think, once Tiger's gone, are we still going to see this much popularity? Or is it going to take another athlete, just a super athlete like Tiger, an ultimately great golfer like Tiger, the ones who actually have the chance to beat Jack's record of majors? is it going to take that caliber of a player? Because, man, I don't know if we're ever going to get another caliber player like that. I mean, you had the Jack era with Arnold, and you had that competition and that rivalry, and that was a part of the greatness of that era that drew fans in. Can that work again? Can that recipe for success work again? Or do we just need the pure dominance that we had from Tiger? So, food for thought. It's really, and I wanted everybody to comment on different things. So go to my Facebook page, Jake from Sports Talk. Google message me at jakefromsportstalk@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Is golf in trouble? Do we have a future in golf that is going to be sustainable in ratings? Because golf's an expensive sport to play, and it's harder for athletes to get into it than, most other sports. So, is golf pushing people away when golf as a whole should be trying to open its doors to more and more people being able to play like the athlete that Tiger was? And if it wasn't for Tiger's dad, who knows? Tiger could be playing in the NBA. Tiger could be playing in the NFL. Tiger could be a baseball player. I mean, with that hand-eye coordination, yeah. I mean, I could give it to him. So, all right, guys. It's been an awesome, awesome Wednesday, and I thank you so much all for tuning in to another episode of Jake from Sports Talk. Again, if you missed any part of the show and you want to catch up again, go check out the podcast version on Google Play and iTunes at Jake from Sports Talk, or the YouTube version will come up by the end of the week. I think it's Friday is my day that he does my videos. We're still trying to get that pattern and schedule worked out, but I think it's Friday. The podcast version will be up either later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. That schedule we do have down pat. So yeah, stay tuned for Justice is Blonde coming up next year on Lone Star Community Radio. And then Rick the Reluctant Cowboy coming on at 3 for some afternoons with Lone Star. Yeah. All right, guys. It's been another fun Wednesday. We'll see you next Wednesday from 1 to 2, as always. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.